In Al Capone's bloody empire, he didn't just run Chicago, he bought it, and the city paid the bill in blood. The scariest part of Al Capone isn't the gun. It's how normal his crime business looked, until the city started bleeding. Chicago, late 1920s. Picture a cold street at night. Lights in windows. Jazz in the distance. A man in a nice suit steps out of a car like he owns the sidewalk. People don't just notice him, they make room for him. That's Al Capone. And here's the weird truth. Capone didn't become famous because he was the best criminal. He became famous because he ran crime like a business. At the perfect time, in the perfect city, with the perfect legal excuse. That excuse was Prohibition, the era when the U.S. tried to ban alcohol. And when you ban something people really want, you don't delete demand. You just hand the whole market to the most violent sellers. So the big question is, how did Capone turn a no-alcohol rule into an empire? And why did it end with paperwork instead of bullets? Because, yes, the thing that finally brought him down wasn't a rival gangster. It wasn't a brave cop. It was taxes. And once you see how that happened, you'll never look at organized crime the same way again. Capone wasn't born in Chicago. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, to immigrant parents. And like a lot of young guys trying to look tough, he joined a street gang early. He learned the first rule of power. It's not about being the strongest in the room. It's about knowing who has the muscle and who has the money. In the early 1920s, Capone moves to Chicago. And Chicago is basically a cheat code for crime. It's growing fast. It's packed with factories, trains, immigrants, money, politics, and corruption. And the city is split into turfs like invisible kingdoms. Then Prohibition hits. Suddenly, the biggest product in America, alcohol, becomes illegal overnight. People still want to drink after work. They still want to party. They still want to forget their problems for a few hours. So a new market explodes in the dark. Speakeasies, illegal bars, hidden backrooms, fake clubs, secret deliveries. And Capone meets the man who helps him level up, Johnny Torrio. Torrio isn't just a gangster, he's a planner, a manager. He understands systems. He understands that violence is expensive and bribery is cheaper. So Capone becomes Torrio's right-hand man. And when rival gangs start pushing back, the streets turn into a business war. Not a gangster movie war, a real war. The product, alcohol. The tool, fear. Here's what people miss about bootlegging. It's not just sell booze. It's a whole supply chain. You need sources, breweries, distilleries, imports, stolen shipments. You need storage, warehouses, basements, hidden rooms. You need distribution, trucks, drivers, protection teams. You need retail, speakeasies, bars, restaurants, clubs. You need enforcement, because nobody can call customer service in an illegal market. So if a competitor steals your truck, you don't sue them. You shoot them. And that's where Capone thrives. His organization grows into what becomes known as the Chicago Outfit. And by the mid to late 1920s, Newspapers are estimating insane money around his operations, the kind of money that turns crime into a full-time industry. But money alone doesn't keep you safe. In Chicago, power has 3 locks. 1. Politicians. 2. Police. 3. Public image. Capone worked on all 3. He paid people a lot. He built relationships, quiet ones. And he also did something that sounds crazy for a violent crime boss. He became a celebrity.
Hey, here he comes. The big boy himself. What's the hurry, Al? Where you're going, you'll have loads of time.
Capone loved attention. He didn't hide like a shadow. He showed up. He smiled. He wore expensive suits. He made sure photographers could find him. He also gave money to charity. And during the Great Depression, he helped fund a soup kitchen that fed people who were desperate. So now the city has a problem. Because if you're broke and hungry, and the government feels far away, the guy handing out soup starts looking like the hero, even if everyone knows he's dangerous. Capone's image becomes this weird mix. To some people, he's a monster. To others, he's a businessman who gives jobs, pays cash, and keeps things running. And that's the trick. Crime works best when it can pretend it's normal. But behind the smile, Chicago is getting louder with gunfire. Capone's biggest enemies weren't the cops. They were other bootleggers. The North Side Gang, tied to rival crews, controlled big chunks of liquor territory. And if you're imagining turf as a few street corners, think bigger. This is about routes, warehouses, docks, bars, bribes, whole neighborhoods. It turns into a cycle. Someone gets hit. Then there's payback. Then another hit. Then payback again. And when violence becomes routine, you stop counting bodies like people and start counting them like costs. That's what organized really means. February 14th, 1929. It's morning. A garage on Chicago's North Side. 7 men from the rival side are inside. Then several men walk in, and at least 2 look like police officers. The men are lined up against a wall. Then the shooting starts. Thompson submachine guns, a shotgun, dozens of rounds, 7 dead. This becomes known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and it changes everything. Because this isn't a quiet killing in an alley. It's public, it's shocking, it's messy, and photos of the scene spread. Even people who were used to gang stuff look at this and think, okay, this is out of control. Capone is widely suspected, but here's the key. Suspicion is not proof. Nobody can pin it on him in court. But the massacre does something else. It pressures the system. Business leaders, citizens, newspapers, they start demanding action. The city can't keep pretending this is just bad boys doing bad things. Now it's a national embarrassment. And that's when the government changes strategy. The problem, you can't arrest a ghost. Here's the nightmare of going after Capone. He didn't usually pull the trigger. He didn't write orders down like a cartoon villain. Witnesses didn't talk because talking could get you killed. Local cops could be bribed, threatened, or both. So law enforcement is fighting a boss who stays one step away from the crime scene. It's like trying to arrest a CEO for what a random employee did. Except the employee is armed and your jury is terrified. So the big challenge becomes, how do you prove a man is rich from crime without needing someone to testify, "I saw him order it"? Answer: follow the money. And not the street money. The paper money. This is the part that feels almost funny until you realize how smart it is. The federal government doesn't need to prove Capone murdered anyone to put him in prison. They just need to prove he earned money and didn't pay taxes on it. Capone's lifestyle didn't help him. He lived big. Flashy suits, big dinners, expensive tastes, bodyguards. He looked like money, and federal investigators start building a case that he had major income year after year and wasn't reporting it properly. Even the FBI later highlights the moment Capone thought he had a deal to avoid serious time, only for the judge to shut it down. And suddenly, Capone is fighting a fight he can't shoot his way out of. Because you can scare witnesses. You can bribe cops. But you can't intimidate math. Capone gets indicted for tax evasion. The case becomes a spectacle. Cameras, headlines. The public wants to see the untouchable man finally sweat. Capone tries to play the old game. Bargain, deal, slip away. But the judge doesn't go along with it. And then the trial moves forward in a way that makes Capone look less like a myth and more like a man trapped by his own success. If you're living like a king, you leave clues everywhere. A king has bills. And in 1931, Capone is convicted on tax evasion counts and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. Just like that, the most feared man in Chicago loses to paperwork. And it's not just the time, it's what prison does to his power. Once the boss is locked away, the empire doesn't vanish, it shifts. Other people step in. The machine keeps running. But Capone himself? He starts fading. Capone is sent through the federal prison system. Eventually, he ends up at Alcatraz, the island prison designed for men the government thinks are too dangerous or too famous. But Capone's most brutal enemy isn't on the outside anymore. It's inside his body. Over time, Capone's health crashes. His mind starts slipping. In prison, he's diagnosed with neurosyphilis, syphilis affecting the brain. His thinking gets worse. His memory breaks down. The boss, who once managed a citywide empire, becomes confused and sick. He's released in 1939, no longer the same man who terrified Chicago. And in 1947, Al Capone dies, not in a blaze of bullets, but after years of decline. That ending is almost quiet, which feels wrong, considering how loud his life was. What Capone really built. So, what was Al Capone's bloody business, really? It was a lesson in how crime becomes an industry when the conditions are right. Capone didn't invent human greed. He didn't invent corruption. He didn't invent violence. He just walked into a moment where the rules created a black market, and he built a company inside it. A company with departments. Sales, speakeasies and clubs, logistics, trucks and routes, security, gunmen, legal protection, bribes, marketing, a public image. And when the body count became too obvious to ignore, The government did what governments often do. They didn't defeat the system with hero moves. They used paperwork, because bullets make headlines. But paperwork makes convictions. If you want the real takeaway, it's this. Capone wasn't a monster from another world. He was a businessman in a market where violence replaced contracts. And that's why his story still matters. Because whenever you create a huge illegal market, drugs, weapons, anything, you don't erase it. You outsource it to the people most willing to do harm. And if you think that could never happen again, history has a bad habit of laughing at that sentence.